Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's they made what into a movie. And we're kind of up to date here. In a rarity, we have witnessed and watched the new Five Nights at Freddy's. New, as if there was a previous one. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie that came out on, 27th of October. Yeah, it was actually released on Peacock on October 26th. And then was theatrically released a day later on October 27th by Universal Pictures. Of course, this is Five Nights at Freddy's, an adaptation of the long-running... I was trying to think of the word I want to use there, because there's been so many games that, like over fucking stuffed game series that is Five Nights at Freddy's. I've played some of them. I won't say I'm a fan. Personally, I never really got on with the gameplay, and I'm not a big fan of that whole jump scare kind of gameplay stuff you get anyway. But I know it's a bit phenomenal, and I know weirdly that it's a game series that has appealed to a younger audience more than anything else. I think maybe because it has those sort of jump scare frights things, but it has almost a kind of like, not childish vibe, but like it's less like horror. A more like cartoony horror, you know?
Yeah, as I said, my knowledge of this is, I know the story, I know the characters, but I've never played any games. This is my first real knowledge of watching the film.
When this was announced, did you have any feelings or thoughts about it? Because we did a reaction to the trailer when it was first announced, and I remember being quite like, oh, this is going to be either really good or really, really bad.
I mean, I think if I'd played the games, I might have been a bit more judgmental because the fact that I had virtually no knowledge, so this was basically all new to me.
Just a movie,
I mean, it looked reasonable, you know, from the trailer.
Yeah, I liked how it looked visually. I do remember thinking that, like, well, there's not really a lot you can do with Five Nights at Freddy's as an adaptation. I mean, what are you going to do? Just film someone sitting in front of monitors, switching between them and closing doors and things like that, all the stuff you have to do in Five Nights at Freddy's. No, of course, it's an adaptation. It's going to have to tell its own story and go from there, which is what it does. So let's just get it out right now. I found this to be one of the most dull things I've seen this year. That's what I dislike the most about this movie. I think it's so goddamn unremarkable that I think in a month's time, this will be completely forgotten about. Like, no one is going to go, oh yeah, that film was really good. But likewise, no one's going to go, God, that film was terrible. It sits so squarely in the middle, doing nothing of note, taking no risks, doing nothing particularly interesting, limiting so many areas, doing stuff that I didn't like, doing stuff that I did like, but never doing anything that made me go, oh, that was so cool, or that was awful. It was always felt like I was sitting there going, nah. And worst thing was, as soon as it started, as soon as I pressed play in it, as soon as I started to watch it, I knew I was in trouble because I saw the length. And it was an hour and 40 minutes, and I was like, whoa! Why is this 100 minutes long? Whoa!
For me personally, the first 45 minutes could have been completely ripped out. It was so pointless. It was so boring. It took way too long to get into the film. And I read it over many sites. Everyone said the same thing. The first 35 minutes was all story-based. I know you've got to explain the story, but it's not a sort of game where it needs a story. It literally, you could have cut all that out and still had the creatures coming alive or whatever, and started from there, and it's still, for me, it would have been no difference.
So, I mean, I disagree with that completely. I have no issue with I want a story. I have no issue with creating a story that will fit this universe and this story and this world and give us a reason to kind of hold on to it. My issue is that for some reason they decide to play super coy with the elements of it, even though it's really fucking easy to put together.
Yeah.
Really easy. Oh my god. Then throw in a twist at the end that you can see coming a mile away. The moment that character was introduced and I saw the actor was, and I was like, he is not in this movie for 5 minutes in that role. No, he's not. Absolutely. I said to Lou, I said to my wife, I said, he'll be back. And I said, he'll be the villain. Mm-hmm. He will be the villain. And there it is, and so on. My issue is that it's dragged out. The story, as you describe it, the elements outside of the animatronics coming to life is super dragged out, repetitive, and never really feels like it gets into a second gear. It never feels like it steps up. But not only that, the character it surrounds, and we're talking about the lead here, and we'll get into the characters and actors in a minute, I found to be wholly unlikable. Like, that was a big problem for me. In fact, I would argue that most of the characters in this are unlikable. And it's like, well, how the hell can I support them in any way, shape, or form? But what, you know, we're talking overview as well. My God, you are, when I saw the running time, the length, and I thought, well, at least what we're probably going to do here is we're going to intersect parts of the movie with flashbacks to other times people get killed. This is how you're going to up the body count to other scenarios of people getting killed. Maybe this happening back in a different era and all that kind of thing. To show how long this has been going on for. To give it a weight and to up the body count. After all, you have a 15 rating, right? So presumably you're going to do something with that. Oh my God! It does none of it.
Nope.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I could not believe that by a like hour and 10 minutes in, 70 minutes in, I was like, oh my God, nothing is happening in this film. And we're going to get into the few deaths that occur, you know, but my God, the lack of risk-taking, the lack of imagination, the lack of creativity in any way, shape, or form. And you know what? I can't believe it's come to this. And it's come sooner than I thought. But as moment the production logo of Blumhouse appeared, I went to Lou. Oh no. God. I am getting genuinely worried about them having their fingers in every single horror franchise now. And the fact that they are commercial all the way. So commercialized horror. And it's beginning to give me a negative view of that company and thinking like, oh my God, like as soon as I see Blumhouse, I'm like, well, we're not going to get anything creative here. And, you know, it happened just recently, you know, Exorcist Believer, one of the most uncreative movies I'd seen this year as well, and so on. But, all this aside, there's nothing wrong with Five Nights at Freddy's, overall. In the sense that, if you put it on right now, if you watched it, other than being bored, and find it quite dull, for the most part, you're just going to come away unaffected. You're not going to sit there saying this is the worst movie you've ever seen. That is the fact of it. And I will go one further as well as that. Put it on front of the kiddies. Oh, not like super young kid. Don't put it in front of a 4-year-old. But you've got like 10-year-old, 12-year-olds who want to watch a little bit of horror. It's got a little bit of, you know, a little bit of stuff to maybe make them jump or whatever here and there. Stick this on. That's it. It will do them no harm.
Yeah, I mean, I give this film a solid 5. You know, it was okay.
It's a 4-5 for me. If we're giving it like a ranking like that, a 4-5 as well. Right middle of the road stuff that like I said, as of the time recording, this is for me 3 days old of me having watched it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was the 27th I saw it. So, and I can already struggle to remember elements of it, and that's a big problem as far as I'm concerned.
As you said, like I said, my son loved it.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. I think, and that's why I think they were aiming for the lowest rating possible, but without going too low. To like, you know, basically put off other people. If it had been a 12, I might not even bother watching it. I'd have been like, well, other than for this series, other than for this series. But I would have been like, well, there's nothing in there for me. Then is there? Exactly, at least with a 15, because my wife was like, oh, well, that's going to be. This means there's going to be enough. And I was like, no. Nowadays you can get away with quite a lot with a 15. You can get away with quite a lot. And they don't. Well, we'll get into it. They don't even push that. They don't even push that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Doesn't fucking matter. You know why? Because we're just two people on the internet, on YouTube, on this video, talking our opinions. And your opinion might be completely different. You might love this. I've seen many people saying they love it. Why? I don't know. I'd love to speak to those people. That's what the comments are for, I suppose. What you found particularly great about it. But money is all that matters. Budget of 20 million.
It's quite cheap.
I thought it was less than I expected, considering the animatronics and but then when you think about it, it's a suit, really, so I guess not. And it all takes place in like one location for the most part. When you break it down, you're like, actually, maybe 20. Actually, 20 million is a lot. One location, some suits.
Must be buddy Matthew Lillard's feet.
Unlikely, but yeah. But as of the time of recording, its box office is at 130 million. Oh, there you go. There you go. This is before we know how well it did in Peacock and elements like that.
It's going to be number 2 then.
Of course it's going to be number 2. Like, why wouldn't it? If it makes money, it's going to keep going on. They're going to keep going on. Okay, let's do cast and characters. We have Josh Hutcherson as Mike Schmidt. My God, he is so unlikable.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so unlikable, and I hate, and I guess I'm going to jump ahead here, I hate how quickly he gives up his sister, and then they act like, oh no, he's changed his mind. I should like him? I'm like, the dude was just like, and what drives me nuts is like, he's obsessed over this whole brother thing, and it's like, but you've got, like ignoring the other member of your family, who clearly has her own issues. Like, how am I supposed to like this guy? And at the end, he's all like, now he can move on with his life and all that, and I'm like, but why?
I know.
No.
Yeah, it was just too quick.
Wyatt Parker as young Mike. Couple of scenes, nothing major there. In the flashback streams and stuff like that. Piper Rubio as Abby, Mike's younger sister. Now listen, I really... Last thing I want to do is sit here and rant and rave about a child actor who's maybe not doing the best she can do. But she's bad. She's bad. Not only, and part of it's the problem is the character as much as anything else. So she's not the best actor. I'm going to put it out there right now. Some of the line delivery and dialogue and behaviour and reactions to things is really like, you know, like that kind of thing. But her character is terrible. She is written, and I don't understand why, like she's a lot younger than she actually looks in the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Her behaviour, her actions, how she does from having imaginary friends to then just being seemingly unperturbed by these moving animatronics to all these elements.
Yep.
It's like a 6-year-old instead of what I think is supposed to be like an 11, 12-year-old. 10 maybe at a push.
That's what I got to.
She's so younger. And like... They never really explore perhaps like, you know, she's regressed to a younger age because, do you know, like one of the maddest things? Where are the parents? This film never tells us where they went.
I think at some point he said they died.
Which is, which is presumed.
Yeah.
But like, why is that not explored in regards to Abby? In regards to how she might have regressed to a younger age because of that, the loss of the parents and stuff like that. Maybe she's regressed partially because she feels that Mike doesn't care about her as much as he does his missing brother, younger brother, and so on. But it's kind of just like, nope, this is her. And like, again, I found her really unlikable.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie, right? Later in the movie, where she comes to speak to Mike and Aunt Jane, played by Mary Stuart Masterson. And Mike's like, look, it's not what you think it is. Which is a direct line. And she doesn't even stop to like listen or whatever. She just goes, I hate you, and runs off. And it's like, oh my God, that was so annoying. Like, he literally just said, it's not what you think it is. Yep. And it turns out it wasn't that anyway. But something like that felt so forced as a way to create a reason why she would leave the house.
Yeah, of course.
So like, I don't want to slam her because she's not the only bad actor in this. Yep. But God almighty. However, the worst, Elizabeth Lala as Vanessa. I think she's the worst actor in this, full stop. But I blame the script. Her script and her character is, you're here to fill in the exposition spots.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you're going to have this weird connection that makes no sense come the end. But also, Shirley just paints her as a villain.
Yep.
You knew your father was a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'm supposed to be okay with this because you're like, enough is enough now?
Exactly.
No, you knew where those child's bodies were. You mean those parents who never found their children's bodies and have gone through life wondering if they might still be alive. You knew where they were.
They're going down too.
I think they knew that, which is why at the end she's in a coma. But it's like, no, she shouldn't get to live.
Nope.
She shouldn't get to live. Like, oh my God. But the actor isn't very good either, I think. Matthew Lillard as Steve Ragian and William Afton, playing two roles here, but really don't. One is the careers counsellor, and the other is as the main villain, the owner of the Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria, the serial killer that killed the kids and stuff like that, and the Yellow Rabbit character as well. So let's get this out of the way. He's an icon in horror, not just for Scream, but other movies, 13 Ghosts and all that. I will not, as much as you might not like the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, he is the perfect Shaggy.
Indeed.
Absolutely brilliant in that role. And I was pleased to see his name pop up in the credits. However, pointless. Could have been anyone. Could have been nobody. You're going to have a character like that. I want a bit more from it. I want a bit more oomph. It's nice to see him become more villainous at the end, but it's done in such an unusual way that I found myself not really into it at all.
That's the problem, So he had, maybe 10 minutes screen time? Which
is
ridiculous, for someone of his calibre, in horror too, because he plays a really good bad guy.
I think so, yeah. He can be quite good, yeah.
And I thought his role, for me, he's the best part of the movie for me. Yeah, so
I'm not giving anyone a best part of the movie. He just like everyone else is bogged down by a poor script, poor motivations, poor explanations. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like, well, how has he gotten away with this? Why is this building still standing? Why if there's this many murders happening there? Has it not been torn down? Does that mean like, good God, there's all these things, and I know it's adapted from a game and all, but you made it into a movie. You've got to explain this shit. We would have said Mary Stuart Masterson, and last but not least, Kat Connor Sterling as Max, Abby's babysitter. I thought she was going to be a love interest early on.
yeah, that's what I thought too.
Totally not the case. Was grateful for that.
Yeah.
Didn't need it. Don't need it. However, guess what? Pointless. Pointless. Just a body. But quickly going to run through Ghost Kids. Grant Feely as Ghost Kid, blonde boy. Asher Colton Spence as Ghost Kid, the one with a hook. David Houston Dottie as Ghost Kid with the bunny ears. And obviously each one represents the animatronic in real life. Liam Hendricks as Ghost Kid with the hat. And Joffrey Love as Ghost Kid, Blue-Eyed Girl. That's the 5 Ghost Kids. You will see a fair bit of them. Only one really does talking as well. The most important one is Grant Feely as the blonde-haired boy more than anything else. So yeah, obviously this film is set in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which was once really successful arcade, 80s, that kind of thing, but is now abandoned, basically. We actually opened seeing a night security guard running for his life, trying to escape, and ended up being like captured by the Red Fox pirate themed one with a hook in the patch and all that kind of thing. He's strapped into a device which basically, it's like the mask of Freddy, Freddy Fazbear, with like Saw. I was like, am I watching Saw?
Jigsaw.
I'm watching Saw. It's like that. It's coming towards his face with like, and obviously when it goes in his face, it's going to mutilate his entire face. Desperate time. It's a good little intro, I think.
Yeah.
And I wasn't annoyed that they cut away from the actual gore, because I'm like, well, you're just starting a movie off. You don't do that. But I was at least like, okay, cool. I did laugh, and I was like, wait. Is this sort of like, because it felt like a saw trap, particularly as he does have an opportunity to get out by trying to unscrew the handheld thing. But yeah, so we cut away from that and that's some introduction. It's like, okay, I wasn't too unhappy with that start.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we've got to meet Mike Schmidt. This is Mike, the main character. He's a more security guard and so on. We see that he struggles. Well, no, actually, tell a lie. I was really confused with this.
Yeah.
It took him ages to fully explain this. I thought he was struggling to sleep, hence why he had sleep tapes.
That's what I thought.
Why he had the imagery. I presumed he suffered from insomnia, which is why he might end up taking a night security job, because, hey, if I'm up anyway, I might as well earn some money doing it. Right? I figured that would be a really simple way to kind of get this story done and stuff like that. Because also, do you know what else he could have done with that? Is that rather than having him enter his dreams to try and work out what happened to his missing brother, he could have just been investigating it like at night, working through newspaper clippings, trying to link stuff together.
I didn't get the whole working his dreams out. That whole part completely confused me.
It adds a weird layer to the film because it's like basically, we'll tell it now. He basically keeps entering his dreams, or he's trying to create a dream situation with certain imageries and sounds and all that to go back to a dream from his childhood, an event where his brother was kidnapped during a camping trip, and he believes that he was so close to seeing the driver's face that if he goes back there, he might be able to see it, and so on. I don't mind that idea if it wasn't this film. In this film, no, because it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
The only way it could mean something, right, is if it was a better script that said at the end that this was actually, that it was simply impossible. Because you can't add an event that never happened. You didn't see the driver's face.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you can't add it. And even if you did, I wouldn't even mind if the last part of the dream sequence was him seeing the driver's face, but it was blurred.
Yep.
Because he couldn't remember it. It wasn't possible, and elements like that. But if the idea of this was that he would learn from this that he has to move on.
Yeah.
And through that also, by then that would link into the fact that he also has to help the family and the parents who lost their children via the pizzeria, via the serial killer, to help them move on. We saw him visiting homes to tell them. And stuff like that, and all this sort of stuff. That could have added a more emotional weight to it. It doesn't do that. No. It doesn't do that. It's so self-centered around Mike and Mike's needs that it never fully fucking embraces these ideas of just like, okay, we could have had a bit of emotion and heart and soul to this kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
We'll get into like the ending as well, like why and so on. But right now, So basically, he ends up seeing what looks like a lost child. So, and then he sees a man come and drag that child away, and he freaks out, chases the dude, and fucking rugby tackles the guy and then beats him up. It is over the top, and I was really like, okay, look, okay, even if you thought that was a kidnapper, that's a bit over the top. Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I would find it hard to believe that someone with that level of behaviour would even get employed. Now, I know we're going to play keeps getting fired and all that. Who, after all these firings, particularly after things like this, how is he getting employed?
Getting employed, social services, his kid being taken away from him. A lot.
This here as well, but throw into that, I could not believe, and you're an hour and 40 minutes long.
That's what I meant.
Why the fuck is he not, there's no explanation for why he wasn't arrested, and why he's not been going to prison for assaulting someone?
Attempted murder, man, sure.
Like, it's assault, and he knocks him in the fountain and punches him several times in the face. Have a throwaway line where the counsellor, because that's where we see him next at the councillors meeting, to get a new job, because that's the reaction of beating up someone in the current job.
Yep.
And have a throw in saying you're lucky that the man isn't pressing charges. Say it. That's it. I'd still think it was dumb.
But at least we had some
But at least you'd have said it.
Yeah,
It's just it's forgotten about immediately. So he visits the careers counsellor, and there's nothing really for him because, of course, people are apparently now going, well, we don't employ this guy who attacks random people on the street in the mall. But before Mike leaves, he does get offered a job, which is at the pizza place, but it's nights. And Mike basically says, look, I can't do nights. And immediately that's why I got confused, because I was like, hold up. So it's not about not being able to sleep then? Because I was like, so what is it then? I was like, he wants to sleep at night? And I could not work it out. The beginning of the first, I'd say 40-45 minutes does a horrible job of explaining itself.
Well, I didn't realise that the girl was his sister. Until like bloody an hour in.
Well,
I thought it was his daughter.
No, I clocked it had to be his sister or at least a relation of the family because he was too young. That's the only thing that got me. I said hello. I remember saying hello. Nah, he's too young. He's too young to be this father.
What do you mean? He's 25 in this?
I'd say maybe nearer 30. Nearer 30. It's very. I mean, she could still be his daughter, of course, but it didn't really work for me. It didn't make a lot of sense. But then I remember saying to Lou, I was stuck in this point as well. Where I'm like, well, if that's his sister, where's the parents? Because bear in mind as well, we've also seen one of the first version of this dream sequence with the ketchup and it's like, where is she in that? Do you know the film doesn't explain that?
Yeah,
where is she in this scene?
She can't have been born in. They must have had her. Like,
later.
When he's like 15, 16 maybe. Or
say
older.
that then.
Yeah.
Say that, because that's just something you can just throw out there in a throwaway line. You're absolutely right. I think it's exactly what happened. They had her later on. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you played the games.
No.
It doesn't cover anything in the games.
Right, when I say I played the game, I played the first game only.
Yeah, so...
And I certainly didn't complete or do anything like that. I know the games, the series, the overall franchise has got very complicated and convoluted, so I know there's a lot more detail in it, but I don't have the connection. There's no way this story is in it.
No, I can't no.
This is the stuff you create for this world. You can remember we do these video game adaptions all the time. We know you have to adapt.
Yeah, of course.
And that's perfectly fine. But I was just a bit confused, and I couldn't understand why it felt like it was being complicated when it didn't need to be. I find that quite frustrating, really.
Like you said, we're almost 45 to 50 minutes into it.
We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But literally, nothing's really happened.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that because you've got to set a story up. You've got to set the character. Yeah, it takes a long time, but you've got to set the characters up, you've got to set up the story, and you've got to set up the motivations. The problem is, they had this new layer, rather than having him just take even if it was, I don't want to stay there at night because I want to continue to dream to find my dead kid brother, have it be that he's like, oh, I have to, because I need the money, because no one else gave me the job, and we need to look, for Abby and stuff like that. Instead, they throw in this wrinkle, which is the fact that his sister, his mother or father sister, Abby's aunt, his aunt, wants adoption of Abby. Yet she's a bit of a bitch, that's how she's portrayed. Yeah. And Mike suggests that it may just be because she wants the paycheck for the custody and stuff like that. It feels so unnecessary.
Yeah, again, I didn't get that because for me, it come across like she had money.
Yeah, I couldn't really understand the concept behind it. Why Why? What? I couldn't quite. Why I don't understand is why she needed to be a bit villainous character. What if she was just someone that was like, look, Mike, I think I can take care of her. But the issue was that she lived in a different part of the country.
Yeah.
And means Mike would struggle to see Abby. Just me like, just make it that. But he make this into a bit of a haughty, like, oh, I'm going to get this kid and whatever and so on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We even see them at social services or at school because Abby sits alone. She's got no friends and has imaginary friends and stuff like that. All the laziest character stuff for a child possible. I'm genuinely surprised she wasn't seeing dead people, like that kind of thing. It's that level of stuff.
They're concerned because all she does is draw, but that's normal for a child.
Yeah, like drawing's fine.
I know.
Like drawing's a good thing and stuff like that. Like the creativity, and there is a bit over the top stuff like this where like Aunt Jane kind of says she's mentally ill and stuff like that. But she says that in front of the social services person who would surely be like, well, maybe you're not exactly showing me you're the best person if you can't quite understand our needs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're right about the whole like, hey, we're not going to talk about Mike's it's just like, you need a job to show you're financially stable. What about his mental stability? He just attacked someone.
What was the point of the lawyer?
Oh, the lawyer's deaf. The lawyer was one of my
comedic.
Was purely a good thing. The part later in the diner where he keeps getting told stuff that he really shouldn't be privy to did make me laugh.
Yeah, it's comic. It's comedic, isn't it?
It's the only. There's no other comedy elsewhere, and so it works for me. So obviously Mike takes the job, and it's literally this. He just has to look after the place. And make sure no one gets in to break in and damage it. Although looking at the state of the place, what difference would it bloody make? Which drives me nuts as well because my God, not enough questions are asked. Why is this place still open?
Yep.
I know it's got sentimental value. What? Why
has it still got power on over it? And
power
brand
on
new cameras and all
right?
that.
No, I can know that's fine because
the cameras. Yeah, I suppose that's
because
fine,
that's the game.
Yeah.
But also that's how you monitor. But there's a scene later on which I was baffled by, and it's like, wait, why is the sign lit up? Surely that is like a beacon to the homeless and the people, delinquents and people wanting to break in. Why would the sign? But also, like, why would you pay to replace the bulbs? And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, it's on a piece of land that I can't believe that some developer hasn't come along and been like, I'm buying this piece of land. Like, none of this is explained, and it's just not very well done. But what's worse is Mike doesn't ask questions. You're the character, dude. You have an hour and 40 minutes. Ask some questions. It's just, just stay to look after the place.
Yep.
But he has no interest in that. All he wants to do is sleep there, which drove me nuts. I just felt like he was so selfish.
Yep.
So, he starts dreaming and he dreams about his brother's, kidnap and obviously presumed murder. And it's been like, I don't know what they say, like, it's been 12, 13 years. It's been long enough that, like, hate to break it to you, bro, kid's probably dead.
Yeah, dead, yeah.
That kind of thing. But then his dreams start to change. The next set of dream, he actually sees, like, five ghost children or 5 children standing there, and they all run away when he tries to ask them questions about whatever, and he realizes, something something is different. And he'll have this dream several more times over the film. One where he chases them and catches up when he gets scratched by one and stuff like that.
Bloody proper Freddy Krueger, man.
yeah. Each dream is, I guess, supposed to fill in an extra little bit of blank. The problem is, again, I'm going to do it again, I don't know what the basis of the first dream is. So you're adding new elements, and all I'm thinking is, how? I didn't realise this film was going to do... I knew it had supernatural elements, but with throwing in dream stuff now, that you can change a dream and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm not entirely... I wasn't convinced I was buying into it. Yep. Yeah. But one night, Mike gets a visitor. It's Vanessa, police officer Vanessa, who apparently has no other job to do but just to pop in and see him. Apparently he's on her patrol and she came to see who the night security was.
It's a bit drove me. It's just like, she's on patrol, she popped in and said, she stayed the whole fucking night.
And she tells him everything about, says everything, because she also talks in a whole, things used to happen here, but I'll tell you about that another time.
It's that third person she was talking
about. There's a lot of third person stuff here, 5 children were murdered there in the 1980s, bodies were never found, place was closed down. And it wasn't torn down. Okay. I find this is where I realised, you're not very good, are you? But I was also like, you are working with a script that's a bit crap.
Yeah.
That's the problem as well.
It's not all her.
I don't want to lay it all on her. Bad scripts are bad scripts. Bad writing, bad character. You've been told us to dump all this exposition on Mike, e.g. us, and we're supposed to just play along.
Yep.
Meanwhile, knowing that she might be able to get Abby if she, gets Mike to lose his job. She hires a bunch of thugs, blokes, and one of them, which happens to be Max the babysitter, who was briefly popped in, basically babysitting unpaid for for Mike. I did like the scene where it reveals that Max was only doing it because she was trying to get dirt on him. I was like, oh, that was an interesting touch.
Yeah, as I said, I was like you. I was convinced this is going to be a stupid love interest. But
Looked like it, yeah.
But no, it wasn't.
There is a sense that she might feel bad about it, where she just sort of say like, look, he's fine. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no dirt to find in the diner and stuff like that. I thought maybe that meant she was going to be a more important character. Spoilers, she's not. But what really bugged me about this scene, the people she's hiring, Jane's hiring, basically did what she wanted and she refused to pay them.
Yep.
But so they end up agreeing to do what she wants now, e.g. break into the pizzeria and smash it up so Michael will get sacked for not being, whatever, right? And promises them a decent amount of money. And they agree. I'd be like, but you didn't pay them for the first job to do. Yeah, I'd be like, not until we get paid.
Exactly,
yeah. Or half an hour, half later, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you already didn't get paid. But you know what really, really, really don't like? Really don't like. So they break in, start smashing up the place, and of course they're going to get, this is where they all get killed off. These nobody characters get killed off by the animatronics that come to life. We've got Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Mr. Cupcake. Mr. Cupcake. So we're going to break this scene down. We're going to focus on this sequence, because it's got several things of where you might realise, this movie's not going to be for me, or it might be perfect for your youngster. Let's talk about the dumb part. They break in during the day. How is Mike responsible? Now later, Vanessa will be like, we'll turn up at his home and be like, oh, someone broke in. You better lock up properly next time. It's like, that would be easy to prove. We see them breaking in via a shutter.
I know.
So, like, that ain't my fault.
Yep.
Do you see what I mean? Like, if there is a night watchman, why is there not a day watchman?
Exactly, yeah.
Come on, man.
Sense,
It's so dumb. But the deaths, it's this. This was when I realised, oh my God. So we have, 4 characters killed here in different ways. Some stalk and slash and all that, and you see nothing. You see nothing except some, like, the cupcake on someone's head. You see a body bit in half, but you do it through a shadow more than anything else, and you see a bloody hand. And I was like, oh my God, oh no. It's not going to be gory. And here's the thing, I didn't expect it to be Evil Dead gore.
No, of course not.
But I was a bit like, we could do a little bit more here, right?
I just don't get why it's a 15. It just didn't, as you said,
I'll tell you why it's 15. We'll get to why. We'll get to why it's a 15. Right, so implied horror is still horror. So, the body being cut in half, bitten in half via the shadow is still implied horror. But later in the movie, we will see the bodies lying around on the floor.
Yeah.
I think that's might have been one thing.
Okay, yeah.
But I also think implied threat towards a child might have been another thing as well. These are just things that will knock you. Consider it like a list of points that if you start ticking off, get you whatever and so on. Certain number of swear words, things like that. It was not swearing.
I thought PG might have been.
Oh no, a 12. I think it's a 12. I think if you remove the shot where we briefly focus on the dead bodies of the people that were killed in this scene at the end, this is a 12. I think that 100%, because there's no swearing, there's no sex, the violence is implied more than anything else.
Yeah.
Horror elements, I suppose, for jump scares, because we should say this film has jump scares, and they are some of the worst jump scares. And I get, right, here's the thing, is I'm always easy on jump scares, because I can't, it's difficult to make me jump.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of horror, and I can almost predict jump scares a lot of the time these days, so I don't jump often. But I can also recognise lazy jump scares. This film has, first jump scare is a stupid toy in a locker that startles Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Later, they will use that exact same toy for a second one. With the doom. And it's just like, you fuckers are lazy.
Yeah.
Like, that does not work for me. So basically, Max dies here as well, which means when Mike later needs to go back to the restaurant, he has to bring Abby with him because, oh my God, he doesn't have a babysitter and all that kind of thing and so on. After being visited by Vanessa at his home. How do you know where she lived? Just saying. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, all these little things. And at the pizzeria, he puts Abby to sleep and then does what he wants to do because he's a selfish prick and goes to sleep with his headphones on. Not watching the monitors, not care. Because forget it, right? He doesn't know the animatronics are alive.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that the person that broke in, because after he cleans up, the person that broke in didn't stay. Because he looks around, all the bodies are gone, and apparently the animatronics did the cleaning up for him as well, minus a little bit of bloody notices inside a room, which apparently he just dismisses. It just like, come on, man.
Yeah,
have a reaction. Have a normal reaction.
Yep.
Who did the cleaning up? So I've got a presumption here, and it works for me in the fact that this character is not actually a good person, even though the film tries to tell us she is. Vanessa. She knew someone had broken in.
Yeah.
She went and hid all the bodies, moved them, and all that kind of thing. Right, it's got to be her.
Yeah.
Who else could it be?
Yeah,
oh, you're going to say, well, it's probably Atherton. But, like, that doesn't work for me.
That's what I actually thought it might have been just a bloody robot.
The cleaning up as well, mopping, maybe.
Well, they built a goddamn tent coming up.
You know what? You might be right. You might be right. But yeah, so Abby wakes up in the night and basically goes to visit the animatronics, and they come to life. And I was a bit surprised here. I was like, oh, okay, we're going in a new direction.
Yeah.
They're alive, they're awake, and they seem to befriend Abby as Mike also comes along, discovers them as well. And they're a little bit hostile towards him, but for the most part, they seem to really like Abby. So let's talk about the animatronics and all that, the robots and the suits. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah.
I thought they did a good job of it clearly being suits, but they're moving in a robotic way.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it.
You won't think those suits because they look really, really good. Yeah.
And of course, then Vanessa ends up revealing that she knew this all along. She knew this all along, and I was like, "Wait, what? What?" And she tells him, like, basically, about how long it's been going on for, and so on, that kind of thing. Yeah. Convenience.
It's convenience, but it's like,
we need to get there.
Yeah.
They build, like, and they end up having fun with the robots to a certain degree, building a fort and sitting down and looking at the sky and all that kind of thing. No? Didn't like it?
Nope. Did not like it at all.
No? So, should we just say what it is right now? Yeah, we'll say what it is right now so we can kind of move the story along to a degree. These animatronics are possessed by the ghosts of these dead children that Mike is seeing in his dreams. They basically, later it'll be revealed that when the police came to look for the bodies of these missing children, Atherton had hidden them inside the animatronics where no one would look.
Yep.
I don't mind that. I think it's suitably dark.
Yeah.
I think it's suitably dark. And now those ghost children possess the bodies of these. And immediately you're like, well, obviously they're going to want Abby to join them. And that's where things are going to go off the rail, basically. Yep. That, during this as well, like, Mike ends up getting hurt as well. Abby gets electrocuted. Not Mike. Abby gets electrocuted. Yeah. It's Abby that gets electrocuted when she touches, like, one... like,
carving, yeah.
Yeah, because they're all electronics. That will happen. And the strings and the conducting of electricity didn't mine it. And Mike and Vanessa bond sort of to a degree. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. I didn't actually realise that there was supposed to be a potential attraction there.
Yeah,
and because it's so poorly done, but maybe it isn't done, and I just thought maybe that's what they were trying to do.
That's what I thought. When the babysitter died, I thought, okay, so then
she's going to step in.
It's copy it, yeah.
Yeah. What's calling? This is where Vanessa learns that Mike is trying to identify Garrett, his kid brother's kidnapper, and sort of she suggests maybe it's not a good idea and you shouldn't bring Abby there and all that because she knows what it means, but will not actually tell him the straight up truth about it. Infuriating. Needing a babysitter, Mike gets Jane to babysit Abby. This is that scene where Abby will not listen to a single word and just storms off.
This again makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why the hell would you get the person who's trying to remove your child you're almost giving her fuel to the fire.
I agree. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, couldn't you have hired someone?
Anyone.
Even if you did it, say, like, again, in a throwaway line that I haven't got the money to hire a babysitter and Jane will do it for free. Do you see what I mean? Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, so Mike goes back to the restaurant this time during the day and ends up like taking a shit ton of sleeping pills because he's so desperate. He's so selfish to find this supposed kidnapper or the kidnapper of Garrett. And in this dream, it all gets a bit more vivid for him as the children directly talk to him and they offer him the opportunity. You can stay in this dream forever. We can do that for you. They even make it so that his parents talk directly to him and Garrett and all that. And all he has to do is give up Abby. And I'm obviously like, he's going to have an emotional moment. He's going to kneel at Garrett's legs and say, I miss you so much. I wish it had happened. Yeah. But I have to focus on Abby and snap out of the dream. The animatronics would come to life and we go into a big ass fucking battle or fucking, big ending, whatever.
Yeah.
Nope. He goes, okay then. And I was like, what?
Instantly.
I remember I was sitting up on my bed watching this film and I just went, what? He did not just do that. Already I think this guy's a bit of a selfish douchebag and he doesn't even really stop to think about it. Nope. But then he has a change of heart. Here's a change of heart. And it's like, no. And they're like, well, too late for that. And I was like, oh, good, you deserve that, you prick. Yeah. We then see that one of the Freddys go to Abby's house to basically collect her. Killing Jane, I guess. We don't see it. We just see Jane's legs down. And here's an example of where they've written Abby to be so much younger than she is.
Yep.
Seeing Jane's legs on the floor, she goes, something like, silly Aunt Jane fell asleep on the floor.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, is she 2?
That's not.
She's 2 years old.
That's not a 10-year-old or 11-year-old.
That is absurd.
I know she's going to be simple. I think she may be simple, or like I don't know. She got like some child. Well, like I don't even know.
No.
Yeah. I thought she had some sort of disabilities. That's what I thought.
No, but I feel like that's been added in there.
Yeah,
that's been added in there. Like that's been added in there. If they could have easily got away with this by saying she'd regressed to a younger age and was suffering mental illness based off the fact that the trauma of her parents. Maybe she was in a car crash that killed her parents and she was in the back bloody seat.
But even at the end of the film, they don't even talk about that. Who found it out body? They're literally just talking to the
oh yeah, we never deal with that and why there's a dead body in his house.
Oh.
Just, I mean, all the other things he's done crime-wise, it's like, well, now your aunt's dead. We knew she wanted to adopt Abby. You didn't want her to, and she's now dead.
You're
in
violent.
Your house.
You've got a violent temper. You beat up people.
Of course, we don't address this. Somehow we don't address this stuff in an hour and 40 minutes. However, my favourite scene in the movie does occur here, and it's getting in a cab. This made me laugh. Yeah. I thought it was creative as fuck.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
She gets in the back of the cab. Cab driver, the car goes. Cab driver looks back and he sees like Freddy. Presumes it's a costume, but it's just like and makes a off the color remark. Yeah. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was clever. I don't mind that sort of thing more than anything else. Yeah, so Mike wakes up from his dream and he's strapped up in the same chair that the guard at the beginning was. And it's the same thing, but this time he's able to break free, of course, by unscrewing the same thing, last minute job and all that. That's where he sees the, bodies as well. But he also gets quite hurt here by Fox, because Foxy's got the blade. Vanessa arrives, finds Mike treats his injuries. Mike explains his dream. And Vanessa now reveals that she's the daughter of William Afton, who was a serial killer who murdered Garrett and the 5 children by hiding their bodies in the animatronics, and their souls are under his control. Ooh, okay, that's a hell of a lot to drop on us. Okay.
And he's okay with it. He just found out that she knew that your brother was murdered by her dad, and she didn't tell you. She's okay with it. My God, you're fucking... I don't know what you do.
I don't mind this too much because they make it quite clear that his focus now has to change.
Yeah, of course.
That, they could... I think, what would have been really cool? I think... in the dream sequence before, because this is the last dream sequence, or maybe even a little bit later on, perhaps he gets knocked down by the animatronics and he knocks his head, and we see a sort of blurry version of him saying goodbye to Garrett.
Yeah, like a flashback, yeah.
Just saying, like, I have to go, I have to protect Abby. Mm-hmm. Just something like that to make us go, yeah, you know what? I think I would have given us a more emotional weight.
Yeah.
So obviously Mike rushes to the restaurant with all his tools. He gets tooled up. He's got a taser. He's got electricity because obviously they're moving robots. Electricity will at least knock them down for a while. Abby is almost put in a torture device by Chica. A saw trap again, which is like the inner workings of the animatronics, which basically are outdated models and outdated things that could, if they go wrong, effectively fuck someone up. Yeah, the sort of things that would never actually... No one with their right mind would get into one of those suits based off those things. But it definitely is more like a saw trap.
Yeah.
Definitely is little claws that stick into your stomach.
Your ribs, yeah.
Mike arrives and saves her. Mr. Cupcake attacks then. What did you... Actually, let's talk Mr. Cupcake specifically. What did you think of this thing?
I think the album is really, really good. I mean, not so much the cake, but the... yellow sort of duck, is it?
No. Specifically, Mr. Cupcake. The cupcake.
The cake.
Forget the other ones. The cupcake, the actual thing that runs around on the floor. They mix sometimes CGI and puppetry work here.
It's
fine.
Yeah,
I find it to be a little bit like, you want kids to be like, oh, look at kid. That kind of thing. But yeah, so basically we get a really, really surprisingly boring sequence of Mike just simply... electrocuting the animatronics. For some reason, 3 of them decided to stay on stage and play a song, which I thought was weird as well. But they're reactivated by the arriving of William Atherton, Steve, who wearing his full-on yellow rabbit suit, and he reveals that he is the killer, and it was all him and stuff like that. It's a reveal you can see coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how are we going to get out of this one? Mike gets knocked out. Vanessa gets stabbed in a nice little movie convenience spot on her side, which could still kill you because of organs and loss of blood and all that. But in movie world means you're probably going to be okay. Because she has a change of heart. And I was infuriated a bit. It's like, she does not get to have a character redemption story.
Nope.
She is, whether she was directly involved or not, she knew. She's an accessory.
Exactly.
She has been fine with this. It is so messed up, the way they try and make her a nice character.
Number 2, best start with her waking up from a coma and then getting handcuffed. You're going to jail, I love.
I hope. I would think if we'll get to that at the end actually. But basically, Abby comes up with a solution. The kids need to know what William did, so she draws a picture which shows him with a knife killing the kids, and that apparently is enough to make the animatronics turn on William.
Such a shit ending, man.
I was like, wow, that was convenient. I guess they just presumed she couldn't be lying. Could have just drawn a picture. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Cupcake bites off like part of his suit, which somehow triggers the internal spring lock to then kind of cut into his stomach. I didn't fully understand it.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. Yeah.
I didn't really understand why the bit in the outside would then trigger that to cut. I didn't really fully understand it.
Unless maybe it cut a wire, I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. It's not a big enough deal at this point to care that much. And we see him being dragged into a back room as Mike and Abby carry a wounded Vanessa out of the hospital, out of the building and so on. There are some really nice shots at this point. The lighting, the image of him being dragged back in the yellow rabbit and stuff like that. I like that.
The building's collapsing behind him as well. It looked like it was breaking and blowing up, but
nope, it doesn't.
No.
Nope, because we see it doesn't. It's still standing. Absolutely.
But it looks like the roof's all caving in it.
It would have been an interesting way to kind of, because I would have wrapped this film up significantly. I would have done that, have them drag in the back room as the place collapses in itself. Maybe it burns down, fire starts, all this stuff. Because you know what you can do in a sequel? Anything you want.
Yep.
Prequels, set years before, a different security guard, a different story, different elements. You can do all of this stuff. There's no reason why this would have to continue on. This can just be the end of this story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can do it in many different directions. So there would have been a cool kind of finality to even them. They're free now, right? Like what happens to them?
Yeah.
Does Mike care? Because obviously the last things we see at the end is that Mike and Abby have visited Vanessa in hospital, who's in a coma, and I'm like, fuck that. Fuck her, man. Fuck her. We are busy to her, man.
Makes no sense at all.
Absolutely. And we see like William in a back room of the pizza. That's how I knew it was destroyed. Still trapped. I don't know if he's alive or dead at this stage, or if it's like a haunting thing, or whatever.
I don't know.
Because he's still like in pain, getting stabbed up as they close the door on him. I didn't really understand it either, but I like the shot of it and so on. And Mike and Abby return to their normal lives, seemingly unperturbed, undamaged, or uninterested. She even says, "Can we see my friends again?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, did you not go through that? Like, come on, man." You know? There's no after credit scene, but there is something that happens during the credits. Did you notice it?
Nope, I didn't.
Right, a distorted voice spells out, "Come find me." That's it. Come find me. So I suspect that's probably a Garrett thing. I think I'm not saying that's what they would do in a sequel, because not everything has to be done. Then after credit scene doesn't always mean anything and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it. Talking through it, we probably sounded like we hate it. And I still stand because it's got so many dumb things. But all this amounts to the same thing I said at the start. It has no impact.
Yeah.
You're just gonna forget about it. I'm gonna forget about it directly after I finish editing this video, and I'm gonna move on from it and not think about it. And the next time I think about Five Nights at Freddy's, movie-wise, will be if they announce a sequel or a follow-up or whatever it is. It is so uninteresting, unremarkable. And too many things that either drive you nuts and you're just like, that's so stupid. Or things where you're just like, oh man, that was like, what was the point of that? Like, give me something more.
Yeah, I mean, I have no purpose now to go watch it again.
Oh god, this is a one-time only.
That's it, and
not moving on. But I do think I think people of a certain age will get a kick out of this.
Yep.
There's an argument to sort of say that it is a more extreme version of, say, a Goosebump episode or an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, which were aimed at a young teen audience, potentially young, so on. And I think the right age for this, your son's age, will lap this up. Will lap this up easily.
That's the thing, because obviously me and you are both in our 30s, so obviously we're looking at like for me, the ending of the film when in the house. Where's the nan? Where's her body? What happened to that?
The aunt.
I'm looking at that. But for my son, he doesn't care about that.
No, of course, we're over-analysing. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it is obviously a bit of a problem sometimes because it makes it hard to sometimes detach your brain and enjoy it. In the same way, and I almost wish I had those eyes. But then on the flip side, I see it as a positive because I'm like, you don't get to just serve shit on a platter.
That's the
you
thing,
don't get to get away going, well, we're not going to put much effort in because, hey, it's like when you see kids' movies that are so dumb and so stupid. I find it infuriating because it's insulting to children. Like, children can handle heavy themes. Children can handle this. Children can handle that and so on. This is a horror movie. So I'm not saying these needed to be, but I reckon they could have given more emotional weight and depth to the characters and the story of Garrett and all that. And maybe they didn't because they were like, we don't need to do that. It's animatronics and all that. But then they're like, but you've got an hour and 40 minutes. And he didn't even give us that much of that either. No. Like, why is it not more over the top? Like, I do wonder, could this have been more enjoyable had they gone, right, we want this to be a tight 80, 85 minutes. And we're going to build up a story that's just a security guard working there. Has to do it to, earn money for his sister, and cut all the dead brother stuff out. Cut all of the dead brother stuff out. Make it that, he might lose custody because he needs this job. He needs to be able to provide and stuff like that. Keep that there. But keep it on a side platter and then just have it balls to the wall action. And because he's doing a character, you can get away with it by doing flashbacks. Maybe he falls asleep in his dreams in these flashbacks and we didn't see him, and we see other security guards getting killed, perhaps violent episodes where people broke in, homeless people, all that. You can throw in some characters like the delinquent people, do that as well, and make it bloody. Make it bloody. I want to see someone's head being crushed by Freddy stamping on it.
Exactly.
This is what I think could have made it more enjoyable for me. But you couldn't, if you'd done that, you couldn't have a commercial audience. Except we have proven in the last many years that R-rated 18 plus movies can still make a ton of money. Can still make a ton of money. But you know who I blame? Blumhouse. Because this is their modus operandi now, which is we'll do horror, but it's sanitized horror. Sanitized horror because we want to try and make the most money we possibly can. And this is what this is going for. And that's fine. Because if it makes a ton of money, which it already has, what do we know? What do we know? It's just our bloody opinion. What's yours? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.